On today's show, how did
Jimmy Freakin Butler
take down the Boston Celtics in game one? What adjustment did the Heat make in quarter three? Talk about that and more on today's Locked On NBA. Let's go.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks NBA. My name is Nick Angstadt, host of the Locked On Mavericks podcast.
You're not even in the playoffs.
I've only done the Locked On Mavs intro like 1,800 times in my life. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On NBA your first listen every day. Be an everydayer, subscribe or follow for free. Just search Locked On NBA wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. But the best way you can help us grow the show is to comment anything below. Let us know which team is real. Which team are you believe in? First half Boston, second half Miami. We saw different teams in this game. Let us know in the comment section below. Joining me, as always, on a Thursday, host of Locked On Bulls. What you got for me, Pat the Designer?
YouTube TV, you son of a... Wow. Last 3 minutes. The Little Mermaid was playing heavily. Shout out
on
to
today's show,
movie.
we'll break down the Little Mermaid trailer over and over and over again because that's what we saw on YouTube TV.
And the old white guys laughing at you, which had to be the guys from YouTube TV. It had to be YouTube TV execs.
Oh, my God. Just laughing all the way to the bank. Hey, got your money. Got your money. We'll break down Boston versus Miami game one, how Miami got the win. And then we'll play Count It Up with a ton of stuff today. So many stories. James Harden declining his option, wants a 4-year deal. Joel Embiid not happy about the firing of Doc Rivers. We'll talk about Victor Wembanyama. And then Joe Mazzulla has this weird habit that I can't figure out. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But let's start here. Miami gets the win 123-116 after the Boston Celtics seem to be like cruising. They're in control of the game, at least through the first two quarters. They were up 66-57 at the half. You go into the third quarter, and the Miami Heat just explode. 46 points in the third after scoring only 28 and 29 points in the first two quarters, respectively. They score 46 points. They have an incredible, I was seeing stats all over the place about how this was like the third most efficient offensive quarter in the playoffs so far by any team. Just an incredible evisceration of Miami with their offense against the Boston Celtics defense. What did Miami do well? Because that's basically how they won the game. They basically cruised the rest of the way to a win.
I think in the third quarter at the start, they adjusted on one thing really, really well. Robert Williams went into the half with 4 offensive rebounds. He was dominating them on the glass, getting a lot of second chance putbacks. Miami, I mean, they were in the game. They were playing defensively well, hit a little bit of a scoring slump, but off of those shots that Boston was missing, they weren't able to get the rebound. Robert Williams finished the game with 4 offensive rebounds. And Miami just in that second half, they started knocking down shots. The beginning of that third quarter, Kyle Lowry came out on fire, knocking down the 3-ball out there in the second quarter and kept that going into the third quarter, coming out and really a 3-point barrage to start the quarter. And then they just did a really, really good job defensively, forcing Boston into just tougher shots, forcing Boston to try and attack the glass even more and not allowing them to get those second chance looks. I thought that Miami did a really, really good job in that third quarter of just putting Boston in situations that they didn't want to be in.
I thought Miami, I don't even know if it was so much of an adjustment. The adjustment, I guess, that they made was they hustled. Like they turned on the hustle. Like they flipped the switch because at the beginning of the quarter, so they were down 66-57 going into the third quarter. By the time they tied it at like 8 minutes and 25 seconds, it was a 13-1 run by Miami to start the quarter. Yeah. And I just wrote, this is all off hustle. It's just all like, it was a Kevin Love outlet pass that got him there to tie the game. There was just Jimmy Butler getting steals. He finished with 6 steals in this game. He had 1 in the third quarter. Kevin Love had had a steal. I think they had 4 steals in the third quarter, but like they just got them all off hustle and grit and just being smart. And this is what Miami does to you. They really stuck to their game plan. Miami was willing to, all right, we'll let you have Tatum and Brown attack us one-on-one. We're not going to try and throw doubles. We're not going to try and do that and let Boston throw their passes all around. We're going to stay home on these guys and stick away from the pass. We'll allow you to go one-on-one on us, but we're going to stay home and make sure that you don't get some ball movement. Because when Boston was playing really well, I thought in this game, they were really moving the ball. They were moving the ball around. They were pushing on these, they were pushing off of rebounds and off of steals and stuff, and Boston was succeeding. They scored a ton of points in the paint in that first half. That was sort of the big story of the first half, was Boston had 40 points in the paint. Miami only had 16. I felt like a lot of it was off some fast breaks and Miami's defense just crumbling on the inside because Boston had spaced them out so far, and they were getting passes thrown all over the place. Miami didn't let them do that, I thought, in the second half, especially in that third quarter. And Miami was making shots too. You got to say that. Like, there wasn't a lot of the rebounding stuff that you mentioned before. There wasn't a lot of turnovers. They turned it over in the third quarter. Miami turned it over 9 times in the first half, 1 time in the third quarter. Like, they took care of the ball. They didn't allow offensive rebounds, like you said. And so Boston wasn't able to push, get into their offense quickly. It became a much slower game. And then you're like, okay, you're playing our game now. We're Miami. You're playing our game. And we just know what we are. And honestly, like, it's so wild because of this Boston team and how much we've seen this Boston team together. They just went to the finals last year. This Boston team, or this Miami team, knows who they are and their roles better than Boston does. It's so weird.
Here's the 2 things that I wrote down about this. Remember, this Miami team was 1 shot away from going to the NBA Finals last season on Boston. If Jimmy Butler knocks down a great look from the 3-point line, sends you to the NBA Finals over this Boston team, and then on top of that, this could have been the first round matchup. Remember that. If they take care of business versus Atlanta, this is the first round. So this is not the nonchalant thing. And now, right, you've got Jimmy Butler in the groove. He's flowing right along. I think Spose basically just said, focus on the scoring, focus on the offensive side of the ball, because we need you to be the offensive player that Jimmy Butler just continues to be. I don't know when. Offensive Jimmy, playoff Jimmy, whatever you want it to be. Jimmy Butler from 3 is my favorite Jimmy Butler, because it's just, you watch it every time. You're just like, he don't shoot that shot, but it keeps going in. Shout out to him. Exactly. I thought that the one thing that really stuck out to me that they did in the third quarter was they kind of just like, they forced so much pressure inside that you saw Boston start to take more of those 3-point shots. They weren't shooting the 3-ball well going into the third quarter. And then on top of that, Miami did such a good job at closing out. And I want to give credit to Bam Adebayo in this game. I thought he did an excellent job of running the floor. You can tell there's not as big of a body on the floor to go down there and bang with him, because he's running the floor pretty much how he wants. And Jaylen Brown jumped in front of a couple of Euro steps that he shouldn't have been there.
Bam also in that third quarter was attacking early. I thought him, like, he turned the corner a lot and was like, okay, if you're just going to guard me one-on-one, then I'm going to attack, because Horford's going to do his thing, but I'm a little quicker than him. Rob Williams can come and do his thing, but I'm stronger than him. So he's got an advantage against either of those guys. And then right around, like, in the fourth quarter, I thought, like, early in the fourth quarter, Boston started throwing doubles at Bam. Like, they adjusted to it. They started throwing, and that's when Bam started to become a passer a little bit. He finished with 5 assists in this game and was able to kick out to some of those shooters. And in the game, Miami outscored Boston on the 3-point line by 18 points. Miami was 16 of 31, which is an incredible percentage, 51%. Boston 10 of 29. So not a great 3-point shooting night, but even if it was closer, like even if it was tied from 3-point land, Miami still wins this game, I think, because just the way that they were playing, the way they closed this out. And Boston won on the free throw line. But Miami, incredible adjustment, incredible take in the third quarter to get this win. But coming up, let's talk about what it means now. How is Jimmy Butler so good? How is he so good in the playoffs? Why does he become this guy? What happened to Jayson Tatum late? We'll talk about all that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about eBay Motors. Just like Jimmy Butler in the playoffs, you need the perfect fit, a guaranteed fit in your life. You need to have that kind of thing in your life, just like Jimmy Butler in a playoff situation. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can be sure that every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know if that part will fit, or get your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence, baby, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win. With the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers, eligible items only, exclusions apply. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA, being part of the show and being part of the network. We have a Locked On show for every single team. I host Locked On Mavs. Pat hosts Locked On Bulls. We go 5 days a week throughout the offseason. So check out that show. Link in the description below to find the show that covers your team. All right, let's keep talking about this Miami win, 123-116 against the Boston Celtics. How is Jimmy Butler so good? 35 points, 5 boards, 7 assists, 6 steals in this game. Just an incredible outing. You saw him in Chicago close up, and I don't think he was this good then. How is he this good now?
He was this good then. The people who were running the show weren't good, and that's what it was. But
Fire guard packs.
Yeah, still to this day. I mean, they're gone, but it just holds. I think the thing is with Jimmy, right? Jimmy's a guy that rises to the occasion. He rises to the moment. He knows what his talents are. And I think the thing about Jimmy is, right, Jimmy, when you think about where he came from in growing up in a Tom Thibodeau type system, shout out to you. He thrives off of the aggression. That Bulls team that he came up on was a beat you up kind of Bulls team. They weren't going to sit there and be the pretty team, right? Like they wanted to play you 94 feet. They were going to be aggressive. They were going to fight over the screen, fight through the screen. And so Jimmy Butler just is taking that with him everywhere he's gone. And I'm not going to lie to you. Here's the thing about it. We don't think about the fact that that's probably at this point 10 years ago when he was with the Bulls. The NBA has not gotten tougher since then. So now Jimmy goes to the hole, taking the contact, finishing through the contact because the players have gotten smaller. He's been able to be more aggressive. More. You know what I mean? It's a more spread out offense. So it fits more of a Jimmy Butler style game. I think that's why we've seen more of an ascension of him towards the end. I ain't going to say the end, towards the older part of his career, right? Let's not say the end. Jimmy's looking like he's going to play 5 more years at least, but towards the older part of his career, and why we've seen him become more of an offensive player.
His big face coffee era as well.
Yeah, his big face coffee era. Shout out to him.
He's in his Midnights era. That's what he's in right now.
He's in his. Now, I'm not gonna drop that joke on Locked On NBA. I'll leave that one alone. Shout out to the bubble though. You okay, Nick? You all right? You good?
Not pennies, not dimes. But, Jimmy Butler he's so good. He can take a one-on-one matchup, and just like you said, he'll bully somebody, he'll get past somebody, and he's become a really good playmaker too. You saw the dichotomy in this game in the fourth quarter was when Jimmy Butler, and Stan Van Gundy just brought it up like over and over and over again. I thought it was a good point, was that when Jimmy Butler...
Stan.
When Miami had the ball, they put the ball in Jimmy Butler's hands, he made a play.
Yeah.
When Boston had the ball, they're like passing it around, and Tatum never touched the ball. And then when he did, he traveled 2 times in a row. But Jimmy Butler was just making the right play. They've got the stuff around him. And this was my point in the first part, is that Miami knows who they are. Every player on this team knows who they are and knows what their role is, knows in any situation, okay, what do I do? What don't I do? Sometimes we have some of these players or some players in the NBA, they just don't know what they are or think that there's something else that they're not. I mean, they're like Marcus Smart. If you look at him at the beginning of his career, he didn't know who he was. And then eventually figured out who he was. And I thought first half, he had an incredible first half, 10 assists in that first half. And he figured that out. And then second half, you're like, all right, now we're forcing some shots and guys. That's the biggest change. That can't. And like, you got to know who you are.
My wife literally was like, hey, who's the 36 guy? I was like, that's Marcus Smart. She was like, he probably shouldn't keep shooting. It got in the third quarter, right when they started getting down, everybody started chucking up shots. I think
who's taking over?
Yeah, and I think the big thing that you said, knowing who they are, comes from there's 7 undrafted guys on this team. Yeah. We can't overstate that enough. Like, there's guys on this team. Here's the thing. Duncan Robinson got paid, and they told him, stop playing, please. Yeah. Like, you're that bad. And now he's getting playing time again. Like, They know if any of us screw up, we can be sitting on that bench for the rest of our lives.
Kyle Lowry, a champion, brought in there the trade. Like, they brought him in there, and he is coming off the bench now and has been much better off the bench. Like, it works for him. And so you have to buy in. And that's such a big part of these playoffs. It's just who's bought in, who's locked in the most. Because everybody can play defense in the NBA. It just if you're locked in or not. Because a lot of teams just don't lock in. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're getting killed every single night on defense. I don't know if every team can play defense.
I was going to say
the Mavs couldn't play defense this year, but so and then let's look at Tatum. You and I had a conversation about Tatum last week. Should he get paid the supermax? You weren't feeling it, and now he has multiple travels in a row in this game. Comes up short in the fourth quarter. You feeling good about your Tatum stock?
Here's what I'll say. I feel like it was when you say a guy shouldn't get the supermax, everybody took that as I think Tatum sucks. 50 points in game 7. I'm not going to say that Jayson Tatum sucks. He's clearly a good player. He can go out and play, right? But here's what we talk about with every player that is the lower tier players that we put below Jayson Tatum that are the offensive guys, right? The Bradley Beals, maybe people throw the Zach LaVines in there, the DeMar DeRozans. Yeah, you can put up a lot of points, but can you do it when it matters? Tatum did it in game 7 when it matters, but there are 3 games in that last series where you look at Jayson Tatum and you're like, hey, bud, if you do anything in this game, we're not in game 7. Now we get here, and I think that we're heading towards a similar scenario. And here's the problem, right? It's like Jimmy Butler said coming into this series. We know how we play. We know how they play. That's the part where now you know what to do to get Jayson Tatum off his game. And clearly, right, like, because I don't think Jayson Tatum, I think it was the same thing. He had like 4 bad games last year in the series. I got to go back and look at last year's series again. But I think he had like 3 or 4 bad games in last year's series, and Jaylen Brown just put everything on his back. This year, now you're talking about Jaylen Brown trying to be that step-up guy, but at this point, you get to the fourth quarter, and Jayson Tatum's been the guy cooking all day. Now he's not there, and Jaylen Brown isn't able to get himself going either. So I feel like, right, like, I don't know if it's like JJ Redick said, where he said they're too similar and so they can't operate in different spaces, so one can't get the other one going. But I do think that there's something to be said with the fact that when one is going, the other one just kind of falls out of the offense.
Well, when one is going, it's one-on-one offense, right? Yeah. It's hard to get that going. So you've seen Boston and you've seen Mazzulla, especially this year, try and promote more ball movement, try and promote more, as Marcus Smart said earlier this year, randomness, right? It's not like you can't predict it, where we're trying different stuff and we're trying
Speaking of random, Marcus Smart throwing up 7 3-pointers.
Trying to get people going at different times. But Tatum, 0 field goal attempts in the fourth quarter. Brown, 7. Nobody else had more than 3. Brogdon had 3. Derek White had 2. Everybody else just had 1. Like that's what happened in the fourth quarter. And so Boston goes down in game 1. We'll see what happens in game 2. Tomorrow on Locked On NBA, you'll have game 1. Lakers Nuggets should be a really good one. I think we have Walker Mel and your boy Hayes.
Game 2.
Oh, game 2. Sorry, game 2 of that. I swear I watched it last night.
You threw me off for a second. I was like, did I not watch?
It was a pre-playoff game.
It was a play-in game. They had another play-in game. The stats don't count. I was like, I watched 34, 21, and 11, right?
It was a friendly. It was an exhibition. Your boy Hayes and Walker Mel from Locked On Hornets hosting tomorrow's Locked On NBA. But coming up, let's get into our favorite game every week, where we count out the most interesting, fun things in the NBA, including Harden declining his option and Joe Mazzulla with a weird habit. Talk about that coming up. All right, Pat, thanks everybody for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA. Go check out our shows. Again, tomorrow you have game 2 of Lakers versus Nuggets.
There you go.
Let's play our favorite game.
Count it up, count it up, count it up, count it.
All right. James Harden, according to Bleacher Report and Chris Haynes, wants a 4-year deal. He's declining his player option, wants a 4-year deal. Keith Pompey on Locked On Sixers thinks it's done with the Sixers. After game 7 and how he played there, doesn't think people will want him back. If you're James Harden,
count it up.
What's your best option? Houston, there have been rumors there. Going back to the Sixers, where I don't know if they want you. What's your best option here?
Well, I don't think you can ever rule out Atlanta strip clubs. Oh, we talk about NBA. We're talking about the NBA. My bad.
Where will he play NBA basketball?
I'll tell you this. I don't know where he'll play on a 4-year deal. I think there's a lot of teams that would take him on a 2-year deal, right? Like I think the Chicago Bulls would try their best to convince Jerry Reinsdorf to finally go into the luxury tax. Because here's the thing about James Harden. He actually is a good facilitator. Even in the games where he's his worst, he's still a good facilitator. The problem with James Harden is, even in the Philly situation when he went to Brooklyn, people are still looking for Houston James. Houston James died 60 pounds ago. Let's let Houston James go. He's now Philly James with Philly cheesesteaks. And so you have to accept him for what he is. And I think that James has to accept himself for what he is. Maybe he's the kind of player that isn't right. Like I can't play at that level anymore, so I'm kind of done. I'll move on with my career.
Seen him. He put up 46. He won them 2 games in that series. Like we've seen him at times, but he can't do it every single time.
Flashes though.
To your point, but yeah. He flashed in a playoff series against the Celtics where he scored 46 and won the game. Yeah, here are the teams with cap space. It's not a flash if you win a playoff game. That's legit. It's just he can't do it every time. It's
BJ Armstrong won a playoff game versus Michael Jordan. Then Michael Jordan stomped the Hornets the entire rest of the series.
The teams
with took it personally.
Teams that are projected to have cap space. The Rockets with 61 million. That's no. To me, that Spurs have like 40 to 50. The Jazz are gonna have like 30 to 45 million. The Magic with about like 20. Hornets with like 20. Thunder could have 30, Pistons with 30, Pacers. None of these teams are signing James Harden unless the Rockets just get real desperate with where they are. So I don't know where he's getting a 4-year deal if it's outside of the Sixers. Speaking of the Sixers, Daryl Morey confirmed a report that Joel Embiid was not happy with the firing of Doc Rivers. Quote, he was very close with Coach Rivers, and he said he was shocked.
Count it up.
Is this more something or nothing?
This could be something. I think this could be something because Joel, I don't think Joel has liked how all the transactions have gone in Philly. I think that he wanted James Harden. I didn't think that he thought James Harden would gut everybody else that he was actually winning games with.
He took the pay cut this past year, and they were able to sign a couple guys.
Well, at that point, you're committed to that situation, right? Like, it's not like you're going to get the half of the team you traded away back at that point. So
I don't think he wants Ben Simmons back, though.
No. By the way, Ben Simmons, the troll job was terrible by you. Like, you can't talk trash about anybody. But no, I think that there might be actually something there. I don't know if it's going to cause a division to the point where Joel Embiid's ready to leave, but I think there's probably some what's the word? Some anger or towards the move. Animosity, that's the word I was looking for, towards the firing of Doc Rivers. Because listen, you get close and not for nothing, that's the furthest they've been in the playoffs with a coach. So
I think it's more nothing than something. We've seen this in the past where Giannis was upset that the Bucks fired Jason Kidd. We've seen in the past that other star players have been upset, like, oh, I can't believe they fired my coach. And then all of a sudden they start Steph Curry, the other one with Mark Jackson. He was upset that Mark Jackson got fired. And then all of a sudden you win a championship, you're fine after that. I think it's more nothing. This just got dropped by Shams. I didn't even have this in my notes. The Golden State Warriors and president of basketball operations, Bob Meyers, have no substantial contract extension talks in months, and the sides are bracing for the likelihood that Meyers could walk away from the franchise. League sources told The Athletic.
Count it up.
If you're Bob Meyers, where are you going? Who do you need? The Wizards' job is open. Do you need a new challenge? Or you want to walk away from all the pressure and the incredibly hard tax situation that the Warriors are going to be in with this new CBA? Where are you if you're Bob Meyers? This is a fascinating one to me.
Here's what I would do if I'm Bob Meyers. I realize how I won my championships, and I hold on to that, and I get out, because with this new CBA, you can't just say, just keep throwing money at that. Just keep throwing money at that. Just keep throwing money.
Bob Meyers, 48 years old. He's not retiring. He's gonna go get another job somewhere.
Listen, I mean, I'd get a job. I'd get one of those joints where it's like you're an advisor, but like you're kind of heavily making decisions, but nobody blames you for anything. I'd get one of those at this point.
The Wizards job is go take the Wizards. If I'm Bob Myers, you go take
why would you want the Wizards? You were just in Golden State. Why you want to go to Washington?
Because Mr. Myers goes to Washington because
oh boy,
because there's no pressure there. You've won, and if you can win there, if you can put a team together there, but I think to me this kind of a story is one side puts the pressure on the other side. I think that they'll end up coming to an agreement. I think Bob Myers will come back because you're royalty there. Like you've done an incredible job with this roster. Put together these 3 guys that'll have a statue in front of that incredible building that you ended up getting built there too. Like it's going to get harder with some of these decisions, but he knows it's going to get harder. He's like, hey, this is going to get harder. I want a real contract. You can't just have me like dangling out there and I got to make these tough decisions on Poole and Draymond and Klay Thompson. And then also my job is at stake too. So I think this is all posturing. It's normally what some of these stories are. A couple other stories I wanted to get to though. This is the number 1 story on NBA Reddit right now. There's a report this week that Celtics coach Joe Mazzulla watches Ben Affleck's movie The Town 4 times every week and credits the mindset for the movie and helping his team's success. He watched that movie came out in 2010. The DVD release was December of 2010. So let's say
the DVD release.
We didn't have streaming back then. We still had Blockbuster stores then. Imagine that he watched it 4 times a week and he's telling the truth. Since the DVD release, that's 647 weeks since then. That means he's watched this movie 2,588 times.
Count it up.
Why?
I mean,
do you have a comfort movie or show that you watch? I've never watched anything 2,000 times.
So here's the thing, right? Movies, not so much. My mom was big on like she would watch the same movie every night going to sleep. She'd watch 12 Angry Men every night going to sleep for like years of my childhood, and it was just something.
That's the movie about the jury, like that old movie about the jury. Where they just...
The old one too, like the one from the 50s.
Yeah,
like
right.
Every single
I guess
night.
it's boring enough that it'll put you to sleep.
Yeah, I guess so. But like she loved the movie, but it was something that she went to. For me, I do have shows that I'll watch, but it's usually like some type of nature show or like some type of animal show where there's a British guy talking. The British guy on the screen always is soothing and it puts you right out. Like, I don't know. Is he going to sleep to this or is he actively watching? That's sociopath activity. If you see the
gazelles in the plains of the African savannah.
Exactly. Come on now. You know what it is. But here's the thing. If you're watching from beginning to end 4 times a week, that's sociopath activity. Like if he's like turning it on as he's going to bed and he falls asleep on it, he wakes up in the middle and it's like, we're going to do some bad stuff. We're going to hurt some people. Who's driving? Right? Like if you wake up there, all right, I got you. You know what I mean? But like if you're watching from beginning to end, that's scary.
It's too many times to watch a random movie. Not even like one of the, that's such a
movie. That sounds a good movie.
I hadn't even heard of that movie, to be honest.
You've never watched The Town?
No. Apparently,
right,
I need to watch it. Joe Mazzulla watched it.
It's a good movie.
Bruce Brown, after the Nuggets Game 1 win, there was a Game 1. Game 1 win against the Lakers. He said the Nuggets' goal was to attack D'Angelo Russell defensively on every possession. Yeah. Quote, he's not the best defender, so we wanted to make it tough on him. On the tough scale, 0 to 5.
Count it up.
How tough is that quote for D'Angelo Russell?
I feel like D'Angelo Russell's the kind of guy to like go back with it with like a Jabari Parker quote of like, they don't pay me to play defense. I mean, like I it's tough, but he's got to know he's not a great defender, right? Like I can't imagine that he thinks he's this lockdown defender. I don't know. I think the tougher part is the fact that we're randomly just throwing Dennis Schroeder in there and then D'Lo in there sometimes, and then like that's the tough part for me in that game. When I'm like, we're changing the starting lineup in the Western Conference Finals here. That's what we're doing here, but I don't know.
Tough. It's a 4 on the tough scale for me for D'Angelo Russell. For him to say it like publicly out in a press conference for Bruce Brown to say that.
But like here's the thing.
It's one thing to do it. We all see it. It's another thing to say it directly and to say his name, to come out and say that.
But here's the thing. He's not going to stop you in the next game either. So it doesn't
it's not
change
like you're
anything.
No, it's not like you're going to inspire D'Angelo Russell to become a defender.
D'Lo has a Jimmy Butler night. He's got 6 steals in game 2. Bet the over.
That'd be wild. Come back to Locked On NBA tomorrow with game 2. I got a couple of draft ones I really want to do.
Let's do it.
Tony Parker tweeted out a picture of a young Victor Wembanyama with a Tony Parker Spurs jersey.
Count it up.
Is it rigged? Is the lottery rigged for the Spurs to get number 1?
Listen, I will not complain or say whether something is or isn't rigged. Derrick Rose played here though, so
and LeBron went to Cleveland. So
hey, listen, the only thing that as I went into this draft lottery that I was like, I don't think there's actually a chance that we get a top 4 pick. My guy was like, why? Like it happened with Derrick Rose, and I was like, there's nobody from Chicago.
You just gotta know.
Gotta know.
A video of Victor Wembanyama live while the lottery was being announced. He was smiling and had a little fist bump when Houston was revealed as the 4th team, so he wasn't going to Houston.
Count it up.
Do you buy that Victor didn't want to go to Houston?
Absolutely. Why would he want to go to Houston? What's in Houston? James Harden's the only one that wants to go to Houston. Like, what's in Houston?
The 4th most people in a city in America, and humidity. That's what they got.
I just meant basketball team. I wasn't even going at the city. Like, I meant just the basketball team. Like, here's the thing, and I hope that they do take steps. I hope that they do get better. But that basketball team looks like an AAU team. Like, they're the only
new coach coming.
The team, hopefully Ime can instill something, turn it all around, right? But like Ime looked great when he had great players on his team. We'll see what he looks like with guys. The only people that can't see that Alfred Sengun needs to be the number 1 option on the team is the Houston Rockets.
Well, we'll see if Ime Udoka can figure that out. The Charlotte Hornets will pick number 2 for the 4th time in franchise history. The picks before them in each of the drafts, the number 1 picks in these drafts, and they've picked number 2, Shaquille O'Neal in 1992. Tough. Dwight Howard, 2004.
Tough.
Anthony Davis, 2012. Tough. Victor Wembanyama in 2023. Tough. The Hornets picks, Alonzo Mourning in 92. It's a great one.
Okay.
But not Shaq, but
not Shaq, but great.
Emeka Okafor in 2004.
That's bad.
Michael Kidd-Gilchrist in 2012.
That's bad.
And to be determined, how much
Count it up.
do you trust the Hornets this time? Will they get it right this time?
The tough part is, right, like, yes, I think they're going to get it right because I like the 3 guys that are behind Wemby, but how do they fit with LaMelo? That's really the only question. Like, how does Scoot fit with LaMelo? I think Scoot's more of a ball handler kind of guy. Imani Bates is Ja Morant with less gun violence.
There's too much fit talk about the Hornets. You don't have enough talent to be talking about fit for me.
Well, here's
with
the
this
thing.
team.
Most of the guys you would be bringing in are ball handlers, and they're not replacing LaMelo.
It's fine. Because there's 48 minutes. How many shots does LaMelo take? 20. That means that there are tons of other shots to be taken. If you're a team as bad as the Hornets were last year, like to play that kind of basketball, there's enough talent. Like you can figure it out. And LaMelo can play off ball a little bit, take some catch and shoot.
Hey, listen, I just want to chop it up with the Hornets here real quick. Zoom in on this. We don't have a zoom in. It's okay. Listen, no, that was the wrong one. You took me off the screen. You're on the screen.
I don't think I can do it.
Oh, now you're switching. There we go. Zoom in here real quick. Hey, don't you want to pair the Ball brothers back up together? That ball connection. Don't you just want to have a DeMar DeRozan on your team? Maybe a big man like a Nikola Vucevic. Come talk to Chicago. We got something for you.
Get off the screen. Get off the screen with your posturing. I don't think I trust the Hornets this time around. I think they're gonna mess up and either take Brandon Miller for fit, or like I think Scoot's the one that they should take.
I mean, realistically, if Brandon Miller if Wembanyama's not in this draft, Brandon Miller could be the number 1 overall pick.
Well, everybody
I
saying
don't know if that's
Scoot
a fit.
should have been the number 1 pick.
Scoot can be too.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA. We will be back. Go listen to Locked On NBA Big Board. Rafael Barlow, Richard Stamen, and Leaf Tulane are all live at the Combine. Great stuff. Nobody covers the draft like those guys 5 days a week. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On NBA.
Bye-bye.
Boom.